I had not seen anything by the director or the writers before, so I really had no idea what to expect here. But what drew me to this one was Chau, who plays one of the leads here, because I recently watched the Watchmen show on HBO and thought she was absolutely fantastic in it. Actually, she was probably one of my favorite parts of it overall. She was just great. But yeah, I haven't seen her in a ton of stuff, so I was curious to see what else she could do. And turns out that she has actually quite a range, because this character she plays here is very different from the one in Watchmen. Because in this one she plays a single mother who's just struggling to get by financially. And I have to say that I loved her in this. I thought she did a really great job. I mean, this was such a natural and effortless performance that I couldn't help but to be impressed. It's actually fairly rare to see someone do a performance like this that doesn't look like a performance at all. You can't really see the acting, she became that person, and that person is just a regular everyday human being. There's nothing exaggerated or over the top about the character at all. And yet she somehow managed to be likable and memorable too. But anyway, the story here is about her and her son going to clean out a house they've inherited. And on the surface there's not much to the plot here, it's very simple and straightforward. However, there is quite a bit of depth to this movie anyway, mainly because of the characters. And the movie does get into more of the reasons for them being there, and their private lives and who they are and what they want in life, etc. It also gets into the story of one of the neighbors who these two get to know. But it's all very subtle and toned down, and this is definitely not a movie that's very in your face about pretty much anything. A lot of things are more or less just implied too, although usually they're also explained later on in more detail. So it doesn't really leave you hanging or guessing what's actually going on either. But I did like the way it handled the exposition. It usually didn't feel forced at all. Instead they found a way to get the information out there in a more natural way. And just in general, I really appreciated the way this movie handled pretty much everything. It just figured out how to make a simple but compelling character-driven drama. However, at some point of the movie I did ask myself the question, what is the movie actually about though? What is it wants to say, and what's at the core of the story here that it wants to explore? And I'm not actually sure, but death is a reoccurring theme here. But I don't think it's necessarily about death literally, more about loss and letting go. And probably about learning to move on and about new beginnings too. And you know, this was actually kind of a sweet and touching movie in a lot of ways. But at the same time it did have a certain prevailing sadness to it as well. And the one word that popped into my mind to describe it was melancholy. But don't get me wrong, it's not a bummer of a movie, and it does have a ton of heart too. But yeah, there is that sadness to it that can't be denied, but it's not overwhelming either. And the funny thing is that it actually managed to put me in a really good mood, despite some of the subject matter that's not exactly uplifting a lot of the time. And I think that speaks volumes about how well made this movie was. Now, from a technical point of view, it didn't exactly blow me away. It more or less looks and feels very much like a pretty standard indie movie, but it also didn't pad the runtime with unnecessary nonsense, and it kept it short and concise. And thanks to that, the pacing felt very good, and it didn't overstay its welcome either. And I really don't have any major issues with the movie as a whole. I just thought it was well handled and executed on all fronts, and the end result is very solid. However, does that mean I would recommend it? Yeah, if you're into dramas, definitely check this one out. And if you're not, I don't know, maybe skip it or don't. After all, I'm not your dad. But hey, what are your thoughts on this? Have you seen it? Did you like it? Let me know. And if you enjoyed the video, maybe give it a thumbs up or sub to the channel, because that would be fantastic. And if you'd like, you can also support me on Patreon or PayPal through the links in the description. And as always, I appreciate you and thanks for watching.